Hey guys, what's going on? It's Rekt Capital and welcome back to the Rekt Capital channel. We're going to be focusing on Bitcoin's 4-year cycles, and this is one of the most important things to really pay attention to as 2020 nears its close. It's the most important time frame to really focus on, and that time frame is the 12-month time frame. So this is a free newsletter of the Rekt Capital newsletter, $5 a month for 3 newsletters a week straight to your inbox. So the 4-year cycle here, essentially, and I described this in a bit more detail in the newsletter itself, but essentially the 4-year cycle is formed, it constitutes 4 different candlesticks across time. So you have the exponential candlestick that takes price to new exponential highs, to a new all-time high, followed by a bear market candle, followed by a bottoming out candle, and followed by a recovery and continuation candle. So each 4-year cycle essentially has an exponential run-up and then a U-shaped reversal, and then that's essentially the same thing happening in this 4-year cycle, right? Exponential run-up, then U-shaped reversal. The candle 4 candlestick over here is very important because it always eclipses the previous high of the exponential candle number 1. So number 4 right over here has to eclipse this previous resistance over here. So that resistance in the previous 4-year cycle was 741. In order to guarantee exponential upside in the following year, it needs to eclipse this resistance and turn it into a support. So candle number 4 is very important in recovering, continuing the trend, and confirming and guaranteeing the new exponential trend in the following year. So you can see that closing on the 12-month time frame right over here above this black resistance enabled exponential upside to new all-time high. And you can actually see that early on in 2017, we got a support test of 741, which is something that enables that sort of exponentiality. It's a springboard. So previously for the 4-year cycle, it was a resistance, but then it turns into a springboard for awesome price levels. So in this current cycle, this current 4-year cycle, we're just finishing up. It's a few months away from the end of 2020, less than 2 months in fact, and we need to see candle number 4 eclipse 13,900, and of course we've done that. We are very close to the price of 16,000. This newsletter was published 2 weeks ago, so this overall is still a very important concept. We are very well positioned. Bitcoin is very well positioned to really challenge for those new all-time highs next year and turn 13,900 into a new support next year as well. Very similar to how this candle right over here did so before embarking on that awesome exponential uptrend. So right over here, 13,900 is that key resistance. It has been rejecting price for 4 years now, pretty much the whole 4-year cycle, and now we're above this level. That's fantastic to see because we're probably going to see a retrace towards 13,900 in early 2021, but the question is, do we still have a retrace below that level left this year? And I think we have a maximum of 2 potential pullbacks towards or even below 13,900 before actually confirming that as a new floor. So you can see how 9,000 was a great entry, 10,000, 11,000, 12,000, and you can see that there is a higher and higher tendency. People are buying the pullback at higher and higher prices, making the Bitcoin floor on pullbacks higher and higher in the meantime. And we're going to get to a point where 13,900 is going to be that floor for Bitcoin in early 2021, but potentially even this year. So a maximum of 2 pullbacks back to 13,900 before we actually embark on a new all-time high in 2021. So that's something that I talk about when analyzing these particular candlesticks. I talk about the pre-halving retrace, which was very much in line with pre-halving price tendencies, and I talk about the Bitcoin halving in this newsletter as well, because it's very curious to see how the Bitcoin halving has a curious positioning 1 year before exponential rallies. You can see over here even, and it is very much setting itself up for something very similar. So exponential rallies occur a year after the halving. Very curious price positioning. there is no coincidence because the halving is a fundamental catalyst. It's a fundamental shift in the Bitcoin protocol, and this has resulted in fantastic price appreciation over the years. But I want to talk about this price appreciation because it's really important to not get soap in your eyes in terms of the exponentiality of these movements, because we've already covered how these previous resistances of the 4-year cycles turn into support. You can see that in 741. Previous resistance for the 4-year cycle becomes a new support, and we're going to see that we're actually seeing a bit of that already, but we're going to see that more so next year as we see that exponential rally up. But I want to talk about these rallies, the exponentiality of these rallies when we see a new all-time high. You can see that the exponentiality may very well be decreasing over time, and you can see this in the black arrows getting a little bit less wide. They are getting a bit narrower over time. And I talk about a few implications of that. That, of course, we won't see a new all-time high in 2020. We will eclipse 13,900. And, of course, in the newsletter, we hadn't quite done that yet. But this has indeed turned out to be true, at least the first half of this tendency. But I'm still quite confident we will top out anywhere between 13,900 and 20,000 this year. But Bitcoin will likely turn 13,900 into a support in early 2021, but also a diminishing rate of return on Bitcoin investments. And if we just maintain these diminishing rates of return as a constant, we'll see a price target of around 90,000. And I just want to talk about this a little bit because 100,000 seems to be a psychological level that many investors are eyeing, and I talk about 90,000 through the lens of this constant diminishing rate of returns on that investment past the very key level right over here, and past and beyond all-time high, the new all-time high. So while we might rally to 90,000, we have to bear in mind that there are upside wicks. These are FOMO wicks. The last batch of FOMO is really buying the top every single exponential candle one, and that's probably going to happen right over here as well. So while I talk about 90,000 being that target, according to the 4-year cycle at least, there is scope for that FOMO buying at the peak. But at the same time, in the same way, we're seeing this declining rate of return on the candlesticks themselves, on the candle bodies. We're seeing these wicks getting shorter over time as well. Can you see that, guys? This is a declining tendency not only in the candle bodies, but also in the wicks, in the upside FOMO wicks as well. So there is scope for an upside FOMO wick past 90,000. And there is certainly scope for that upside wick to be shorter than the previous ones, but nonetheless wicking towards that psychological level of 100,000. So indeed, that could be very attainable for 100,000 to be reached with that sort of FOMO wick before finally rejecting in this way, right? So we'll probably see a FOMO wick past this resistance again, which will be shorter than this one, right? You can see this is a FOMO wick that is shorter over here. So we'll see a FOMO wick probably to 100,000, a smaller FOMO wick just to showcase this lower high right over here, lower high right over here as well, and then a corrective period, the bear market, and then the 4-year cycle continues from that end on. So that's something I'm watching for, guys. If you enjoyed this newsletter, this free newsletter, feel free to subscribe at an early bird discount of $5 a month. It's really great value for an affordable price. But above all else, this is the analysis that you need to focus on as we near the end of 2020 and usher into 2021 and inevitably a new era for Bitcoin's price action as we challenge for 20,000 in 2021 and eclipse it finally as well. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Please consider dropping a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Thank you so much for watching. I'll speak to you in the next one. I'm Rekt Capital. Speak to you soon.